Thanks again to the Sangam Talks team. Thanks a lot. So the today's topic is the funding mechanism of the Christian missionaries. So let it put me the things like this, that with the change of time, the pattern have also changed, not only of the urban, not only of the Naxals, not only of the terrorists. Like uh, the Maoist movement, it was known for what? It was known for PLGA, it was known for underground movements, it was known for ambushes, it was known for killing the security forces. But after 2004 and 2007, when they came up with this Unity Congress document, and a few of the other organizations, they merged into the CPI Maoist, like People War Group. So they changed their modus operandi. So what was the modus operandi? Say now they are more focused on the urban functioning. And if they are more focused on the urban functioning, so they are not going to do it with AK-47s in the streets. So they came up in the disguise of civil societies, civil liberties groups. So why I am referring to Naxals? Because there is a change in modus operandi of all those organizations, those who want to bleed India, break India. So the same is with the, you can say, with these Islamic terrorist groups also. So in the coming time, you will surprisingly see that the cases like bomb blast and killings, they will decrease. But again, what they will do? So they will shift on to something like narco jihad, narco terrorism. So that is one of the most lethal format, you can say, which has been evolved, and that has more lethal repercussions than the AK-47, you can say. So the same is with the Christian missionaries also. They have changed their modus operandi because so many things are there. The government is not favorable for them, and so many kinds of surveillance and a few acts, those who are not suitable for them, like we came up with FCRA 2020. So it was not suitable for them, and that choked their oxygen pipe. So the pipe through which they were getting oxygen, so that was choked to an extent. So it is a high time that they should come up with new modus operandi of funding and new modus operandi of their functioning. And at the same time, they are bound or they are compelled due to the situation that they should form an alliance with the other groups. Like Christian missionaries, they are opposed or to the Islamic fundamentalists. They are also making hue and cry about love jihad, like the Hindu groups, they are worried. So the Christian missionaries groups also, they are worried. But one side, they are being targeted, the Christian groups are being targeted by Islamic fundamentalists through love jihad. At the same time, they are into alliance also. So why they are into alliance? To target, to deal with the third force, means the third threat, which is in form of government, or which is in form of, you can say, the nationalist parties, or you can say the kind of platform which we have evolved, this Sangam Talks. So they also want to deal with such platforms also. So they have come up with formats. So again, there is a very famous proverb that the West has 4 wings of armed forces: army, air force, navy, and the 4th is church. So this is not a recent proverb which is being used. I think if you go down the line, so it was Birsa Munda, Bhagwan Birsa Munda, who in a very short span of his life, he was born in 1875, he died in 1900, he was executed by the Britishers. So he was the first man who was able to visualize this threat, the Christian missionaries threat, in a whole soul perspective, you can say. So he said that topi topi bhai bhai, means the Britishers with guns and the Britishers with Bible, they all are same. Their motto is same. Their motto is to colonize. They don't have a different motive. So the way is different. One come with a Bible and one comes with a gun. So if you go through the gazetteer of that time, the 1880s and 1890s and between 1900, the area in which Bhagwan Birsa Munda was active, there was a great decline in the conversion activities. If you go through the gazetteer, so you will be able to understand that Bhagwan Birsa Munda, he didn't just pose a challenge to the British imperialism, but he was a threat to the conversion missionaries also. So the reason behind he was executed, because the topi wala with gun was also worried, and the topi wala with Bible was also worried. So from time to time, the government, they come up with several laws to deal with the fundings of not only Christian missionaries, but all sort of funding which is being used for the anti-national activities. One among them is the Christian missionaries also. So recently we have this act in 2020 called FCRA 2020. So after FCRA 2020, they again changed their modus operandi. And the funding system which evolved was visible in the Shaheen Bagh protest also, in the farmer agitation also. To some extent, they switched to pocket funding. So they are getting funds in so many different accounts, not one centralized accounts, through bank transfers. And again, that is accumulated at one place, and that is used for the purpose it is intended for. Let us come to the Christian missionaries and its fundings. So in September 2020, the Home Ministry cancelled licenses of 4 Christian organizations. Again, a lot was written about the right to this, the right to that, on that. So the 4 organizations were Mumbai-based one New Life Fellowship Association, which is again a Christian missionary organization, Evangelical Churches Association of Manipur in Northeast, Ekroso Sulis Northwestern Gosner Evangelical and North Evangelical Lutheran Church, both based in the Jharkhand state. The 6 licenses were cancelled in total. 4 were Christian missionaries. So again, the Indian agencies, they are investigating into so many other agencies, like they are investigating into the Seventh-day Adventist Church. It is a very famous church having so many branches. I think in each and every part of the country you can see the Seventh-day Adventist Church branches. And the Baptist Church also, they are also under the scanner, and their source of funding and the use of funds, the end use of funds, are also being investigated. So due to the actions taken and the initiatives taken by the Indian government, so many organizations, they ceased their operation, fearing the repercussions, because they had done so many things under the blanket. So 3 years ago, we can mention that the US-based donor called Compassion International. Compassion International is working in so many countries. They are into the proselytizing, funding of proselytizing activities. They were forced to stop the Indian operations. So in 2018, one Baptist World Alliance chief, Reverend Paul Mirza, he was not given visa to attend a conference in Garo Hills in Meghalaya. So the Indian agencies, they are quite damn serious about the activities, because conversion is just not limited to converting from one religion to other, but it's a conversion of soul, it's a conversion of nationality, it's a conversion of your commitment to the Indian nation. And there are several cases which has been investigated in, especially in the northeast region, and several cases which came into light into Jharkhand, that actually we presume the Christian missionaries as a holy cow, because the front face again is a very, civilized, in a very civilized format. They are into hospitals, they are into education. So I myself have studied in a convent missionary. So the kind of image we carry, so that is a very holy cow kind of image. So in exact, it is totally opposite to that. So there were several instances in which the Christian missionaries, they were connected to Naxal outfits, the militant outfits. They were connected to extortion rackets, and they were into getting funds from illegal mining, tree felling, drug trade also. Like recently in Jharkhand, I always mention the Pathalgadi thing. So in the behind the Pathalgadi, what they were trying to do, that the Christian missionaries and the Naxalites both were in alliance, and they tried to cultivate, to promote the cultivation of opium farming. In Jharkhand, there was a recent case. So 2007, in 2017, so many organizations, they were banned. So one case of Ayana Trust is very interesting, and this will help us in how they function in execution or in funding. Let me be very clear that the organizations, those who are not very honest with their intention, is not very honest in perspective to India, so they are not honest in their functioning also. These funds, the funding of these Christian missionaries, is a big fraud. Though they are intended to conversion activities, so there is a big ghapla, there is a big fraud, and which has been highlighted from time to time, not only in India but across the globe. So let me come with this Ayana Trust story. This Ayana Charitable Trust is a Kerala-based organization which was banned in 2017. The new name under which US Charity Gospel for Asia is reportedly funding projects in India. This Ayana Trust that emerged on the top list of the Indian NGOs with the highest foreign funding of around 826 crores. So it is one among the prominent 3 Christian evangelical NGOs. The 2 other are Believers Church India and World Vision India. But the Ayana Trust, they got the highest, in 2015-16. So again, it is a rebranded version of the Gospel of Asia. The Gospel of Asia is a Texas-based NGO. Again, the Gospel of Asia, which is rebranded as Ayana Charitable Trust, they came into trouble into Canada. They had allegations of financial bungling of around 96 million of US dollars. So one person named KP Ohana, he's a Keralian, but he's currently based in Texas. He is heading this Ayana Charitable Trust. So both Ayana Charitable Trust and the Believers Church, they were founded by and managed by the same person, which is this KP Ohana. And he's not in India, though he's a Keralian, but he's based in Texas. So if you combine both this Ayana and the Believers Church, those who are a same organization run by the same set of people, the funding was more than 1,000 crores for just 1 year. And I just mentioned that they faced allegations for a fraud of nearly 94 million in Canada. And that fraud, which was investigated in Canada, there was a report that this money was used between 2007 and 2017 for in India to purchase huge chunks of land, and they spend money which has been unaccounted for. So what do this Ayana Charitable Trust do? They again claim that they are working on the Dalits in India. So you can again see the format. Say they are trying to use the fault lines. Any case you see that these Christian missionaries or the Naxalites, what is common between all of them, and even now the radical Islamist groups, they are targeting the fault lines of the Indian society, backed up with the funding, and then they start so many things like agitation and different type of they come up with different type of demands. So the case of this Ayana Charitable Trust and this KP Ohana is very interesting, that it is just not a part of the country. There is a nexus, and that nexus is like a cobweb. If you get into it, it is hard to find that which portion, which is connected to which end across the globe. One case, let me discuss it. It's a very important case related to Jharkhand. 3 years back, when Raghubar Das, BJP was having a government and Raghubar Das was the CM over there. So there was a very famous case of Mother Teresa's Missionaries of Charity in 2018. So again, when you talk about Missionaries of Charity, you talk about Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa is a Nobel laureate, and she is considered as such a person that you are not entitled to discuss. Well, you are not entitled to discuss anything negative about the Missionary of Charity, because it is related to Mother Teresa, and Mother Teresa has such a towering, she has such a towering personality. And again, so what was the case that nearly 450 pregnant women, they were admitted to various homes, shelter homes, run by the Mother Teresa's society, the Missionaries of Charity. And in those 450 pregnant women, there are records of only 170 childbirths. So where did the 280, nearly 300 children, where they vanished? There was no record of that. So the government started investigating into it. So it was alleged that these children were sold off. So again, I'm coming to the, the kind of funding sources. So the sale of children, that is also one of the funding sources. When it comes to fund, they use such kind of tactics also. They are selling children from their missionary organization. And if you say in 2018 or today in 2021, that the Mother Teresa's organization, they are into selling of children, the Christian missionaries, they are selling children. So people will say, oh, so you have a biased mind. So the sale of children, human trafficking, this is not new when it comes to church. Two journalists named Raju Raffel and K. Rajgopal. I talked to Raju when he came up with his documentary film, that in 60s and 70s in Germany, so many young girls, they were sold for 100 pounds, 150 pounds in 60s and 70s. So in 2021, which surprises you, is because you don't have that memory. You don't know that those cases, that in 60s and 70s, several girls, they were sold by these Christian missionary organizations for a price of 150 pounds.
So Raju Raffel, he 3-4 years ago, he came with a very interesting documentary. Not 3-4 years, nearly 5-6 years ago, he came up with a very interesting documentary, which describes all these, sale and purchase, in which the priests in India, the Christian priests in India, they got 150 pounds for each girl. Now the Vatican, they accept that yes, there was a sale, but at that time when you go through the reports, newspaper reports, so the Vatican, they very strongly condemned that no, it is a rumor, it is a propaganda, and no such things have taken place. The same is with the child abuse cases also. The child abuse is not related to the funding, but when you talk about child abuse, 10 years before, nobody was able to accept that there were severe cases of child abuse in the church. But now there are many cases which are being admitted or which have been investigated in the Vatican also. So let us again come to this foreign funding. So let us see the trends in foreign contributions from 1993 to 2011-12. The cases in the last 5-6 years, everybody of us know that many organizations, they are under scanner, they have their licenses has been cancelled, and many cases has been registered, many are being investigated. But let us go back to 1993 to 2012. There is a data in which registered associations in 1993-1994 were nearly 15,000 in FCRA. The amount received was 1865 crores. So it increased and increased. The very next year, it was 4,535 crores, and in 2011-12, it became nearly 12,000 crores. This is not just related to the Christian missionaries, but a major portion of this was used by the Christian missionaries. This is related to the whole and soul, some figure of the donations which came to India. So if you go country-wise, so the USA that tops the list, then after comes Germany, then UK, Italy, Spain, Netherlands. So in 2002-2003, from USA, the fund which came into India was 1,680 crores, Germany it was 715 crores, UK it was 85 crores, Italy it was 316 crores, Spain it was 250 crores, and Netherlands it was 262 crores. If we come to 2010-11, the 1,680 crores, which was in 2002-03, it nearly doubled. It became 3,261 crore. From Germany, it became 1,000 crores. Again, UK nearly 1,000 crores. Italy 500 crores. Spain 350 crores, and Netherlands it is around 469 crores. So why these funds are coming? Do the countries, those who are sending funds to India, they have surplus funds? Or the issues in which they say that they are investing into, are those issues not in their countries? So why do they do that? So again, there is not a very pious intention. The intention is known to all, that why such donations are coming. Each and every piece of donation, you can say, which is coming from outside, they have an intention. They came up with an agenda, and majority of those donations, their intentions are not very good. Their intentions are not very pious. For example, the top 15 donor, World Vision International USA, remitted nearly 706 crores in 2008-09, but did not make it to the top donors. So corresponding receipts for the World Vision India Tamil Nadu was 192 crores and 230 crores respectively in 2010-11. So let us see what the organization, those who are topping the list, of in relation to the taking donations in India. Compassion International USA. This is a data of 2008 to 2010-11. HCL Holdings Private Limited. So if you see HCL Holdings, it seems like they are some software business type of organization. But when you see the Compassion International USA, it is very clear that who is taking the donation and for what purpose they are getting it. Population Service International, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Kindler Not HIF, it is from Germany, and Wat and Tall Mission, Save the Children, Leprosy Mission, General Conference of Seventh-day Adventists, International Development USA, Christian Foundation for Children and Aging, Oxfam, SOS, Christian Children Fund, Action Aid, Gospel for Asia, World Vision International. So again, if you see the organizations, those who are topping the list in related to getting funds from outside, most of them, 80% of them are Christian missionaries. Someone came up with a very interesting kind of logic that, the Britishers, they ruled the country for so many years. So they have a sense of guilt. So due to that sense of guilt, they are into these charity things into India. Again, so it is an unending, if you discuss the data, it is an unending reservoir. It is you can say it is a unending data which we can discuss for hours and hours. But again, the thing is, why I say that it is a fraud, because these organizations, the organizations in India, they were getting thousands and thousands of crores in each and every state. But if you see the output in relations to the amount of conversion, that is very minimal. So where do this money go? That is a fraud. That is a ghapla. That you can say that is a scam inside their ecosystem, that they are sending funds for something else, and these funds, a majority of these funds are being utilized for something else. Again, if you come to the this proselytizing activity, so most of their actions, they are described, or they are into like propaganda. So doing seminars, connecting to people, publishing posters, pamphlets, wall writings. So getting this hand pumps or wells, kuas into those states. So most of the money which they say that we are making expenditure, that is unaccounted. So it is not like that if 100 rupees coming, only you can say 5 or 10 rupees that is being used for these activities, the proselytization activities. Maximum of these funds are used by the officials of the Christian missionaries in India. What is the net output? So there are lessons for us. There are lessons for the Christian missionaries also. They are interested in India. They are interested in so many countries which do not have that amount of Christian population. They want to convert them. But surprisingly, you can say that the Christian missionaries or the Christians or the church, they are paying for their sins. When you look at their country of origin, what is the actual situation or the actual status of the Christian religion in their country. So there was a very interesting report. It was done by one Stephen Bullivant, a professor of theology and sociology of religion at St. Mary University in London. So the data were taken from the European Social Survey 2014 and 16. So the data, they are very, surprising, and I think they are very disappointing for the Christian missionaries, those who are pumping money and those who are taking efforts into the non-Christian world. So there are figures. I'm just putting the figures. So how 16 to 29 years old self-identify themselves? One is no religion, two is Christian, and three is non-Christian religion. So in UK, nearly 75% of the population between 16 to 29, they consider themselves as no religion. They don't find affiliation with Christianity. The only thing is Christian in their personality is they have been baptized once, but they never go to the church. They don't have interest in the Christianity. And the same data is with Czech Republic. The Czech Republic data is very astonishing, that nearly 90% of the people, they don't believe in Christianity. Netherlands, again 75%. The least the data where this thing is very less is Poland, that nearly 20% they are not interested in Christianity. So the same is with Russia, Switzerland, Germany. Germany, which is pumping funds into India for proselytizing activities, nearly 50% of the people, they don't believe in any religion. Of the Christians, they don't believe in any religion. UK, which is pumping funds into India, nearly 75%, they don't believe in any religion. So these 16 to 29 years age group, which was in 2014-16, so now they would have been 40 to 33. So after 20-30 years, there will be a majority of population in all ages, those who don't affiliate from Christianity and those who don't have any interest in Christianity. So again, this trajectory was likely to become more marked. Christianity as a default, as a norm, is gone. And in the last, at least in the 100 years, in the coming 100 years, in the Christian majority countries, the scene will be very different. And again, there is a rise of Muslim population in many European countries. Their fertility rate is also high. The birth rate is also high among them. Many Christians, they are getting into Islam, because once this mind is empty, so you need something into that. So Islamists are there, those who are very aggressive, in converting. So they have got an opportunity. But this empty mind, the non-affiliation of these young minds with Christianity, Islam or any other religion is not an option. For that empty mind, or we can say that those minds have a quest, and that quest or those questions can be answered by us. So again, we have an opportunity as a Sanatan Parampara, as a you can say as a culture, we have an opportunity to fill that gap, to fill that emptiness. And it is not that vacuum is not very limited. That is going to increase, because the young minds in all the religion, they want answers. And Sanatan Parampara, you can say the most beautiful part of this is that it is a Q&A kind of thing. You can ask questions. You can ask questions to anyone. You can reject anyone. You can reject your gods also. Then also you can remain a Sanatani. You can fight with your gods. So this these unanswered questions, due to which a majority population of the world, the Christian population, they are de-affiliating themselves with Christianity. We have a opportunity over there. And thank you. I think this is all what I had to say on this topic today.
Namaste, Vinay Singh ji. Thank you very much.
Namaste.
Yes, thank you very much. बहुत ही अच्छा था. Very, very good data and points जो आपने बताया. So quite a bit of these little things we do know what is happening with the Christian missionary funding and so on. And the data you have provided, of course, gives a very clear picture. 2014 se pehle, what it was, and now how it is, hopefully we would say, being cleaned up. Mere actually two sawal hain, two questions. One is this data that you've given of this much money that has come in to all the organizations, not just Christian, but even others like through BMGF, through all other, health NGOs, PSI, all those kind of things, and the Christian. How much of this money has actually gone to only Christian organizations? Do you have any information on that one? And secondly, do you feel we can totally ensure that no Christian converting organization gets any funding? Do you feel we have the laws which will allow us to clamp down on that permanently?
So there are nearly 1,000 of organizations which were there or which are still active in getting foreign funds. But if you want to know that how much of them are Christian missionaries, you just see the top 10 list, 1 to 10. So if you see the top 10 list, in 90s, there were nearly 80% to 90% of the organizations were Christian missionaries. Now you can say nearly that data has declined, but today also nearly 50% of them are Christian missionaries. And something which surprised us in Punjab in the recent, due to this recent political turmoil, that to what extent in Punjab. So whenever we talked about Christian proselytization, we talk about Northeast, we talk about Jharkhand. But what has happened to Punjab, we are witnessing for the first time. So kam hua hai, aur dheere dheere I think it must be zero. Why a single penny also come, a single rupees also come, or a single dollar should come for such activities with bad intentions?
Ji, Deepanjali, the next question tha ki what about the laws? Do we have something that can clamp this down completely?
See, when it comes to proselytization, it is not just a cultural matter. It is a matter of internal security. And when it comes to internal security, India is not exclusive with such problems. Many countries are having similar problems which India is facing. So many countries, they come up with set of laws, they come up with set of amendments. Like if you talk about the foreign funding. So the problem is similar with, if you compare India with Russia. So there was a problem in Russia also, that foreign forces, they were trying to destabilize the country. And that was done through foreign funding. So they were having a law, like we have FCRA, they were having also a set of law. So in 2015, they amended that law, they renamed that law, and they renamed it that Undesirable Organizations Act. So they were so blunt in naming that act, that you are undesirable, we don't desire you. And the organizations that shut down their operations, you will be surprised to know the names. The organizations who shut down their operations after 2015, after that this undesirable organizations law was implemented. That was Oxfam, that was Carnegie International, that was Open Society Foundation. So all the Amnesty International, nearly all that set of organizations, those who are creating problems here, they were banned over there. So again, if you talk about India, we were having a FCRA. But in 2020, we came up with the newer version of FCRA. After that, and that is not ultimate. After the FCRA 2020, they came up with new modus operandi of funding. Pocket funding is one of them. So it is a regular process. Tum dal hum paat. So we came up with the law, they came up with a different modus operandi. And again, down the line, we will have to amend that. We will have to add some more provisions. So this is a continuous process.
Yes, thank you for all the valuable information that you have given us. I have no questions about the information. I have only questions about the interpretation of what you have given. So the first thing is that many organizations project this as a nationalistic issue. My point is that, first of all, the missionary apparatus itself is almost completely brown. There are hardly any Europeans working in it per se. I mean, most of them are people like us. And secondly, if all of India were to become Christian, then, there is no question of secession or any other anti-national problem. Right. And thirdly, conversion is an act of piety because you do not want your neighbor to go to hell. This is genuinely an act of mercy as far as they are concerned. Okay. Yes, incidentally, they may get some economic benefit and so on, but I think it takes a lot of commitment for a person to part with so many such huge sums of money to merely change somebody's religious label. Okay, so I think nationalism is a sort of misstatement, as Conrad Elster said, of our real concerns, which is actually the preservation of our indigenous civilization.
So again, if you take it as a cultural issue or a security of internal security, the both are same. I think both issues are there. You can interpret it in both the ways, but it's a threat. It's a threat to the culture. It's a threat to national sovereignty. And again, to understand why this proselytizing activities, other aspect of that, we must always look at the Charter of England of 1813. So previously, the East India Company, they were not supposed to aid or supposed to help the Christian missionaries in their proselytizing activities. So it was 1813, they signed a charter, the East India Companies and the missionaries, that the East India Company is duty bound. And that was again under pressure from the Queen of England, that the East India Company is duty bound to help by all ways and means to these Christian missionaries in their proselytizing activities. So it is a proxy warfare, and not just today. In 1813 also it was like that. The Britishers used that as a tool, and now also the intention of that is the same. What was the intention of the Charter of England, the Charter Act 1813?
Yeah, just to add to that Charter Act, the fact is that even though many missionaries wanted to carry out conversion work and proselytizing in India, it was actually the East India Company that put a complete lid on it. And there is a lot of record of missionaries complaining to the British Crown, saying that these people are not allowing us, because the East India Company wanted a peaceful place where there are no religious rights and where they could carry out their business and extract as much money as possible. So that is the irony. Now my question is, the other point that you said was that Sanatana Dharma can fill the void, right? Now my question is, our own organizations, because of the lack of autonomy, are hamstrung. There is this Article 30, which grants all minorities the right to manage their educational institutions and religious institutions and so on. But that right is by default denied to the majority. And this is a matter of merely amending that law amending that article in the constitution to extend to all groups, whether majority or minority shouldn't matter in a democratic setup. Strangely enough, this government has been in power now 7 years, and yet this has appeared in the BJP manifesto also, in earlier editions, that they would amend Article 13 to include all groups, not just minorities. But this is not going anywhere at all. This is probably the easiest law to bring in, and it's just stopped. Do you have any idea why?
I think so many, things were there in the manifesto, and a lot have been addressed also. The issues like Ayodhya, the issues like 370, and the triple talaq and all. And in the due course, I think I am very hopeful like you, that in the due course, these issues also, you see that these minorities, they are the most privileged lot in this country. And then also they are always crying to be like they are prosecuted lot in India. So I wish that very soon this thing is also going to be taken up. That is in the BJP's manifesto, and definitely I think that they will address it soon. I don't find any reason that why they are not addressing it, and I don't doubt the intention also. They will address it. I think it's a matter of time when they are taking up that matter.
Two questions. One is, English as a language is a fantastic medium for them to use. English gives you access to the world and to the bodies of knowledge that otherwise are denied to you. So English is one of their very, very helpful mediums, because through that it's easier. Number two, we are discussing the direct ways of the activity being carried on. What about the indirect media, the indirect indoctrination of the mind, which slowly veers you away? Because if in a metropolitan city in India, if you talk to any youngster, he will vehemently oppose you. I mean, he is on that so-called quote unquote liberal network. And that is brought about by the media, by names, by iconic models, by aspirational models, by writings. So how do we counter that? Two things.
The indoctrination is only possible when you train the masses in a certain way. Like, for an example, I am telling you that in the farmer protest, you can have heard, echoes of the Khalistan referendum 2020, the Khalistan referendum. So the new generation, they think that, okay, there is a lot of Sikhs, those who want a separate state, and the history is nearly 2-3 decades old. It starts from 80s, and then the 84 riots, the Swarna Mandir intervention of Indira Gandhi into the Swarna Mandir. So when I tell training the masses, so you need to tell them the exact genesis of why the Sikhs, a lot of Sikhs, they want to de-affiliate themselves with Hinduism. So again, the story is, a very simple story is that after 1857, the Britishers, they reviewed their policy, that what went wrong. And then they came up with certain set of things. And the gazetteer was one of the things what they did. They want to understand the diversity and the thought process of the different sections of the society. For example, if you take the Sikhs, so there was one Mr. Arthur Matcliffe. So he was ICS. So he came into Punjab as an ICS in 60s. So he converted into Sikhism and he translated the Guru Bani into English. So he became a hero, that he is a Britisher and he translated the Guru Bani into English. And by his inspiration, his very dearest friend, Kahan Singh Nabha, he wrote a book that Sikhs are not Hindus. And what he did in the translation, that it was not a simple translation. He injected his ideas and he told the Sikh community that Guru Nanak Dev Ji, he has told once that Britishers will come and Britishers they will make alliance with the Sikhs and they will rule the world. So he tried to put his words into Sikhism. And what he tried doing in 1860s, that is taking shape, or you can say that is you can see that as a set narrative, that a big population, they don't want to call themselves Hindus. And that was again after 1857, the Britishers, they started working on the fault lines of the Indian society. So indoctrination is not just about being Christianized. Indoctrination is about being de-affiliating yourself from Hinduism. Like Dalits, they say that we are not Hindus. Tribals, they say that we are not Hindus. Sikhs, they are saying that we are not Hindus. So this is also a format of indoctrination. And all these formats, all what you see today, they have a history. And the history is not 2-3 decades back. It is nearly 150 years back. They started working on these issues 1.5 centuries back. And you can see the results now. So what they are doing today, you can see this country will be able to see the results 200 years later on. So that is a continuous process. That indoctrination is a continuous process that comes into different formats. The only way out, that we need to train the masses, and we can train the masses by storytelling, by telling them stories about this, why Sikhs are not Hindus. This narrative is taking shape. Why Dalits are not Hindus and why tribals are not Hindus. Where these ideas came from and what was their genesis and how the journey was. So we need to train the masses, and we can train them only by storytelling.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. One is that is there a study regarding how these churches are changing over time? I came to US in 1966. I have continuous experience with Baptist Church as well as Seventh-day Adventist. You see, now more than 50 years. Okay, and I have noted massive changes. Okay, is there a study like that? I mean, you have said about what they have been doing in India, and I have been reading a lot, but I think the whole movement is changing in the sense that what I have written in writing, in India, I think it is becoming organic, that Indians themselves, they are converting for their own benefit, okay, rather than other way around. Because here, I have come across a lot of activities. You mentioned earlier regarding girls. I here actually met a girl about 23, 24 years old in YMCA who felt very sorry, and she talked to me how she can go back to Nagpur, okay, where she came from and this and that. Okay, so is there a study like that? That is my question.
Sir, I have not gone through any, very specific kind of a study like that the change of pattern into the in connection to the churches. But if you go through the investigation of Bhima Koregaon, in which there was a plan to assassinate the Prime Minister of India, so you will find a alliance. For example, I am telling you, Father Stan Swami, he was a Christian priest he was a Christian priest. Rona Wilson, he was a comrade, he was a Maoist, but urban, you can say he was studying in, he was a Genuite. So when there was a letter from the MHA that was sent to the government to the DGP Jharkhand. So that letter was regarding that the Christian missionary, the PFI, the Popular Front of India, that is a Islamic organization, extremist Islamic organization. So the PFI that was trying to build bridge. No, sorry, there were set of persons, 2 persons. I remember the name on Bashanta Kumari, daughter of G.N. Sai Baba, and one Anjani Kumar Mal. They were trying to build bridges between the PFI, Popular Front of India, which is an Islamist organization, the CPI Maoist, and the Christian missionaries. So leave that later. 6 months later on, there were reports that a general secretary of the Popular Front of India, he participated into a meeting of the CPI Maoist. So again, this Jewish priest, Sten Swami, he was a prominent member in all these activities. So there is an alliance, and you can say that this is also a change of format, that they are not acting solely. They are acting with different kind of organizations, or with organizations with whom they are into conflict.
What you are saying is 100% accurate. My point is entirely different. You see, if you have to solve a problem, you have to take it to a appropriate level. You see, it is a 3-dimensional problem, not a single-dimensional. But by that, what I mean is that, let us say, if you talk about crime, there are little thieves and there are big thieves. How do they work? What you are saying is absolutely correct. But like what is happening right now in Aryan Khan case, for example, there is a huge network. What you said about children, you said something that the solution to the problem is okay, let us say education or communication. What is happening to raise the masses? Yeah, that is one way. But bigger is you have to go to the source, what is happening, and these systems, they keep on changing, just like life keeps changing. And that is what I was implying. Primarily, problem is within. Yeah, you can stop funding, but then the funding is not the only thing. You have not. It is a lively virus. You see, what I notice is that in most of the lectures, people are always blaming others. British did this, British did that. Oh, British did that. Okay, as far as I'm concerned, whatever they did was to serve their purpose. It is like a free cattle, capitalism. You are in business and your sole objective is to make money. You are making at somebody else's cost. What is fair, what is not, one can keep on talking forever. So here, I actually know Seventh-day Adventist. As I said, I have 50 years experience. Actually, I have known personally, their children have gone to India to study cultures, and I knew why they have gone there. It is systematic. So what I'm saying, the problem is huge, but it has to be understood.
SG is telling that is not a question, that is an answer, in fact. Yes, we attract the world as an ideology, as a Sanatan Parampara. When we say we attract the world, and that is why you say that for those empty minds, that empty mind is a question, and the answer is us, because we are a Q&A based. We have a Q&A based system. We can question our gods. We can question anybody. And despite all that, we can remain a Sanatan, we can remain a Sanatani. So what I say, that majority of the religions, there is no scope of any question. There is no scope of any moderation. There is no scope of any interpretation or analysis. If there is written that the earth is flat, it is flat. No science can prove it that the earth is flat, that the earth is not flat. We can question, we have questioned, and we will question. That is us, that is we. And I think that is the answer to those empty minds.
एक मेरा क्वेश्चन है कि I had spoken to somebody in Punjab, a Hindu in Punjab, and I had asked them that, you know, what is this whole menace in Punjab? So what he said was really shocking for me to hear it. He said that ये basically mazhabi Sikhs को target कर रहे हैं, which come from the SC/ST kind of things, and the upper class and the upper Sikhs are more affiliated with the Khalistani. So the Christians are not posing any threat or harm to the Hindus. So we are keeping it neutral. And in fact, the Christian conversions will act as a buffer between the Khalistanis and the Hindus. So once these Christians can even get out the Khalistanis from Punjab if they become into a majority. So ऐसा logic जब मैंने सुना, so they say Hindus here want to remain neutral. आप देखोगे कि कोई nobody is coming out to speak openly about the Punjab conversions, except the Jathedars and the people from SG CA or something. So और यही situation मुझे Kerala में भी I got to when I spoke to somebody, they said we want to join hands with the Christians and we want to kick out Islam. So we want to keep it neutral with Christianity and we want to. So ये बहुत अजीबोगरीब. I mean, I don't understand this logic. What do you have to say?
Look, we want to join hands and we want to kick out extremist Islamists. ये theory इसलिए fail हो जाती है क्योंकि if you see the Bhima Koregaon chassis, if you see the CA protest, if you see the farmer agitation, there is an alliance between Christian missionaries and the extremist Islamists. There is a agreement of a common minimum program between them. So it is, ये तो theory fail होती है कि they are against them. They are against them because they are targeted by each other. But at this point, they have a common minimum program और उसको वो execute कर रहे हैं, उस पे काम कर रहे हैं. दूसरा, this is a good, excuse. लेकिन what the point is that why you convert, you are a Dalit and why you are converting into Christian, because somebody comes to you and he says that, look, there is these things in Hinduism. And there are differences. There is caste barrier. And you come to my religion, and here we don't have those caste barriers. We treat everyone equally. So what they do, that is not organic. Somebody comes and convinces them. So that is key, a set of organization, they are using the fault line of the Indian society to convert them. The same the Islamists are doing. Why are they able to make an extremist, or they are able to convert a normal Muslim boy into a terrorist? Because they say that, look, you are a Muslim and this Indian state is against you, this, that, and so you must wage a war against that. So again, those Islamists are also using or misusing that fault line. So anything, it is conversion activities, or it is manufacturing a terrorist. If the fault line of the Indian society is misused, that means the intentions are not good. You can come up with pretty good excuses, with fancy excuses. But it may sound, logical for the time being or for in the given time frame. But in the longer run, it is disastrous. It will de-affiliate those those who are converting with the Indian state.
Yes, thank you, Tanya. Binay ji, namaste. Thank you so much for an amazing session. You could hear all thoughts. So I'll keep my question very crisp. One, we see a lot of studies with regard to Christian missionaries, especially when it comes to funding. I don't recall, within my limited knowledge, any major revelation for the Muslim missionaries, because they also proselytize. That's one. If you could just highlight anything in your knowledge. And number two, a lot of people say that this will only, which means the illegal and legal funding for unnecessary conversion will only be curbed if we change the constitution. But do you think that just by changing the interpretation of the constitution, if we just say that you as a religion have the right to practice but not proselytize, you cannot convert, do you think that is doable, or do you think that's just wishful thinking? Thank you.
No, I think that is doable. But again, that's not limited that we can make one amendment and we can get one bill passed on that, and that will stop. That is a continuous process. To stop the funding, that is a continuous process. To stop the conversion activities, the proselytizing activities, that is a continuous process. To deal with the extremist Islamists, that is also a continuous process. So not as never, it is never that a set of law, if you come up with the law and we are we can stop this with a stroke of a pen. It is not possible.
In fact, Vinay ji, मुझे North East का example याद आता है. There's banned missionaries and there's an anti-conversion law there also, but still the missionaries are functioning full bloom में वहाँ पे. So it is a very internal and a very kind of a spider's web. English language को ये जो medium use करते हैं, क्या ये, is this a leveraging point for them to get into, because everybody wants to learn English. So ये जो missionaries, they use the English language to educate in convent schools. What role they play?
देखो, मुझे लगता है कि as far as English is concerned, that was a tool for colonizing the Indian minds. That was used by the Britishers और वो लंबे समय तक रहा. लेकिन English पूरी दुनिया के लिए that has become a compulsion. तो English से they were able to colonize your mind. तो आज एक इंग्लिश जानने के चलते you have an opportunity to know more and more about them. क्योंकि the sins of the Christianity, the sins of the Western world, that is not written into other languages. That is also available in English. So it is a दुधारी तलवार की तरह है. It has harmed us also. It is harming them also. We can use the knowledge of English to our benefit also.
I just wanted to tell you that a private members bill introduced in 2016 by Dr. Satyapal Malik, who is a member of the BJP, precisely addresses the Article 30 problem, and nobody has taken it up. Do you know why?
No, Ramakrishna ji, मैंने उसको स्टडी नहीं किया है कि what was the reason. लेकिन again, I don't doubt the intention, क्योंकि राम मंदिर से बड़ा इशू नहीं है ये Article 30. So it will go someday, and we must have faith, क्योंकि the issues, those who were into the BJP's manifesto, most of them the issues have been addressed. The issues were pending not just for 10 or 20 years. Some of the issues were pending for 500 years. So those issues have been addressed. So the issues like Article 30 will also be addressed. Let's have faith in our Prime Minister. Let's have faith in our government.